Call the meeting to order. Travis, could you please call roll?
Okay, that's Chairman Jamie Burke,
Present.
Vice Chairman William Anderson,
Here.
Commissioner Glover, Commissioner Neil Anderson,
Here.
Commissioner Bush, Commissioner Leggett,
Here.
Commissioner Gilbert,
Here.
Commissioner Brewer, Commissioner McDermott.
Here.
We have quorum. So the first item on the agenda is consideration of minutes for both May 21st and June 5th. Any questions? Corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion to.
I move we accept. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions, conversation? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, same. Motion passes. All right. Director Colquay, please educate us on what you've been doing.
All right. Just want to give a brief update on some of the activities that we've had recently. One, we're continuing to work on the state water plan. We have all of our contractors in place. It's, as you can imagine, very diverse job when you're looking at all of the state's water needs and everything that we need to consider. But we're making good progress there. We also have several other studies that are going on simultaneous. So for one example would be a levee study that we're doing that will actually help inform the state water plan that's almost complete, which was a full levee inventory of the state. So lots of work going on. We did finalize a $25 million general obligation bond sale. And so we use general obligation bonds for several things. One of those is match to the Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. We fund the irrigation projects. We provide their match for federal dollars. And then we also fund directly water and wastewater projects. But we completed that bond sale in June. We're also right now working on several rule revisions as a result of the 2025 legislative session. So we're in the middle of going back through our rules and making changes where we need to. Some of that is, if you recall, they added sewer systems to Act 605, which was the rate studies and implement rate studies that only impacted water systems. In 2025, they added sewer systems. So we're going to have to go back in and amend our rules. And then we also received a new program, which is the Water Sewer Treatment Facilities Grant Program. So we have to write rules for that and then fold that into our financing. So we're in the middle of doing that. And then on a personnel note, as you recall, Ryan Benefield was deputy director here for a long time and left us over a year ago. So that position has basically been vacant for a very long time. We actually restructured the position. It's no longer the deputy director. It's the chief of water conservation or water strategy. And we actually promoted Tate Wentz in that position. So Tate is now the chief of water strategy and water conservation, and he'll supervise all of the water resources. So that's dam safety, floodplain, groundwater, water planning. And then he also supervises the conservation section, which is Megan and her team. So congratulations to Tate. Tate's got a lot of experience, almost 2 decades of experience working on water related issues in the state, and has a very diverse background, worked for multiple agencies, and I lean on Tate a bunch, I can tell you. And so happy for Tate and happy for us that he's in that position. So that concludes my report.
Congratulations, Tate. Any questions for the director?
How many total employees do we have?
Right now, we're at 52. And that can change daily. We've been as high as 58 in the last 2 to 3 years, but right now we're at about 52. We have a couple of companies open that we're advertising right now. In fact, we have interviews this Friday for a position. So, but we hover around that both business.
Any other questions for the director? Mr. Zuck?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members. On the financial report of the period ending June 30. 2025, not a whole lot to report. On the Water Development Fund, no new obligations to report. So this leaves 8.6 million available to fund future water development projects. On the water, sewer, solid waste, again, no new obligations to report for this reporting period. We do have one reallocation for about a little bit over 343,000. So this leaves 3 million in funding that will be available to fund future water, sewer, solid waste project. On the general obligation bonds, you can see our net bond proceeds at June 30, 24,392,000. One new obligation to report on the GO bond, which will be the fiscal year 25 state matching and drinking water SRF in the amount of 13,972,000. If approved today, this would leave available funding in the GO bond of 5.9 million for contract project. And that concludes the financial report.
Any questions for Mr. Zaki? Who can read the type on this bigger page? Yeah, sorry.
There's a lot of information.
Any questions for Mr. Zaki? Thank you, sir. All right. Legal.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, good morning. Since the last commission meeting, the department has received 17 requests that are related to the Natural Resources Division. 30 of those are related to dams, I'm sure because of the wonderful presentation we heard at the last meeting. 2 are related to water use records, 2 are related to liquid animal waste, and 2 or 3 were specifically from media. On the contract review front, legal has assisted the Natural Resources Division with 8 contract review and negotiations. And then on the litigation front, there was 1 matter, specifically a water plan compliance application review hearing request that I'll address a little bit later. And the other litigation issue with which legal is involved is related to the administrative appeal. You're all familiar with that. The last time I reported, we had not heard anything on this matter. This is specifically Central Arkansas Water's water plant compliance application review that came before you. It was then appealed by a group of individuals to circuit court. Since the last meeting, circuit court has entered a scheduling order. So what that means is the briefs are going to be due. The court wants to get briefs from the parties. So the petitioner's brief will be due on September 12th. The commission's response brief will be due on October 27th. And the final brief, which is from the petitioner, will be due on November 12th of this year. The court will then decide if it wants to hear oral arguments. And in these administrative appeals, what the court is considering is really the record, what this commission considered of what it did. So that will be what's before the circuit court. So I hope to, by the end of the year, be able to provide more of a report to you. And with that, that concludes my legal report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Hearing none.
Chairman, I'm presenting the next matter on the agenda. If it pleases the commission, may I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Let me switch my name. Members, the next matter on the agenda is the Chamber Springs Water Association Water Plan Compliance Application. This was initially going to be a full review hearing before the commission, but I'm here today to happily present to you a proposed and final determination. We have some representatives today that with your approval, I would like to introduce. With us, we have a representative from Chamber Springs Water Association, Cassie Elliott, as well as her husband. She's here today. And then Washington Waters Council is present today, Hannah Howard. As background for the commission, I thought it would be helpful to provide just a brief timeline of the regulatory process and then go into the heart of the issues. On December 30th, 2024, Chamber Springs Water Association, which I'll refer to throughout as just Chamber Springs, filed an application for water plan compliance seeking approval for a water distribution system to an unserved area in Benton County, Arkansas. This area called Chamber Springs is currently served water only by individual wells, and the groundwater in the area is known to have contamination issues. So they propose to build a water distribution system. The final phase of that application is really where we ran into some dispute. Under the application, the proposal is that the city of Taneytown, which is right near Chamber Springs, would take over and service the approximately 120 customers that will be on this new system. A public hearing was held on March 25th, 2025 in Benton County, Arkansas. The director issued a final determination on May 14th, and then on May 23rd, the Washington Water Authority requested a review before this commission. Washington Water's request for a review and its objection to the project is based primarily on a dispute between it and Taneytown over service area. So it's really that final phase of this application where we have a dispute. Under Chamber Springs application, Taneytown will service the new water system. However, it's Washington Water's position that the area where Chamber Springs is located is Washington Water service area. And for that reason, they filed suit against Taneytown. That case is currently pending in federal court, and the department nor the commission are party to that case. However, the primary issue there to be decided is who owns the service area where Chamber Springs sits. A review hearing was originally scheduled before the commission for July 17th, and both parties submitted written briefs on July 3rd. So July 4th was a very welcome weekend. It's a lot to go through, and the parties came together after submitting briefs and decided, let's discuss resolution. How can we resolve this dispute at this particular level, meaning the application? The parties ultimately agreed to come together and propose an amended final determination to the commission, and that's what I'm presenting to you today. We have a copy of the amended final determination in your packet, and the main points added, in other words, the differences between what the director issued originally and what we're proposing to you today are primarily an acknowledgement of the dispute between Washington Water and Taneytown over the service area, and then a determination as to which entity will service the new water system. The points are addressed primarily in paragraph 8F and 10. The service area dispute will be resolved in the federal case, but continued litigation related to this application will prevent Chamber Springs from going forward and beginning construction. Chamber Springs has already secured the $2 million needed for this construction project, and they're under a tight deadline. They have a limited amount of time to use those funds. So continued litigation is going to harm this project from going forward. The parties agreed that the final decision as to who will service this system will be decided in the federal case. And Washington Water has been agreed to not challenge construction of that project before this commission. So the specific ruling related to the application begins at the bottom of page 3. The commission would approve the application. The decision as to who can service the new system will be decided in the federal case and will automatically apply to Chamber Springs application. And that's really the heart of the issue between Washington Water and Tawnytown. And frankly, we don't want to be in the middle of that. And they don't either. They don't want us in the middle of it. So by approving the amended final determination, Chamber Springs can immediately begin construction on a much needed water system. And the department would avoid lengthy litigation over the issue. So for these reasons, I request that you approve the amended final determination before you. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Any questions? Would either party like to address the commission?
Hannah Howard with Washington Water. We don't have anything else to add to her presentation, but if you've got any specific questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Sure.
Yes.
I just would like to say, first of all, great job, Amanda. Sure, I mean, but this is a good win-win, I think, for everybody. And I definitely feel really good about the outcome. I think this is a way to keep the project moving while the folks that have dispute over service area boundary can work that out. So I think it's a good presentation for my city.
Did you share with the rest of the commission, either one of you, what the source, or not the source, what the cause of the groundwater contamination is, just so the rest of the commissioners know?
There are a couple of different things that have been pointed out. I think there's been some water that's positive for hydraulic fluid. There's been issues with E. coli. And so there's several contaminants. And obviously, it probably depends on which wells are being tested, but those are some things that happen. And I'm sure Miss Elliott would probably describe more of those, if you don't mind, some of the things that y'all have found.
Thank you, Commissioner. My name's Cassie Elliott, and I live in this area, and I just appreciate Miss Andrews and everybody working with us. We've worked for a long time to be able to get this funding. It's a small area, but there are a lot of wells that have issues, and like Mr. Colfleischer said, you know, it depends on which well you test. A lot of them are not as obvious as others. A lot of people haven't had the extensive testing that like we have done. Just because we've worked in water for a long time, we're aware of issues that come up in well water. But we do have, yes, we do have some hydraulic fluid. We have some things that we can't even filter out of our water. And so it's absorbing into people's skin and making them sick in this particular area. We have about 40 residential customers in that area, but we also have another area, you know, just almost as bad to the east. We're just trying to hit the worst ones with this first phase, and then hopefully we can build more out there if money becomes available. Just appreciate you all today and the steps that you're taking. We know the battle's not over, but getting the money was a huge part of that, and I think everybody wants us to build a project, including the water users. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, if they start building this thing, who are they gonna, and this thing's in litigation, is the litigation gonna be solved this year, or who are they gonna hook up to? Are they gonna hook up to Conatown?
Well, I mean, so the part of the issues, one, they're able to hook up and they'll be able to run their system temporarily. But because they have a small customer base, you're not really, by law, you're not able to create a system that has less than I suppose that was done in Act 605. Because they have less than that, they have to go to a bigger system. Can't survive as an individual system, but then having the ability to construct, they can start providing themselves water even before the dispute was done. But long term, as part of this determination, they have to go somewhere. And so they're either gonna go one way or the other, either Washington Water or Tom. And so, but that's gonna be decided by somebody else outside of it.
If temporarily they will be provided water by,
They're gonna commit to 2 tons. So they have the ability to connect to a public water supply. Obviously, they have to build some infrastructure there on site, but they have the ability. Over,
and could you remind us the deadlines that they're up against?
yeah, so as you recall, we're administering American Rescue Plan Act dollars to lots of different communities. They were successful in getting American Rescue Plan Act dollars from the county. Mann County. Under the federal deadline, those funds have to be used by December of 26. So in the water and wastewater world, 1 to 2 years is not a lot of time to construct a project. And so they don't need any outside delays. They need to be able to get started and put where they have a chance of winning. So it's gonna be critical for them. So
Well, do we need to approve staff recommendation?
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll second.
It's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I just want to say thank you for getting through this. Same to the lady in the back, because it's important for people to have clean water. And I'll just put a period there.
In your backyard.
I wish we could start those things with the right to water rights, because having bad water is not a good thing. And then when you're stuck in the middle of 2 people arguing over whether or not you can get water is. I'll put another period there. All right, Miss Debbie.
Good morning, Chairman and everybody. How are we today? We have a very short list of projects for you today. In preparation for November, when it will not be a short list. So just be prepared. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Things that applies my.
it's the one you share piece, it does that.
Just go ahead, Megan. I only got a few.
Okay, let me just. Now try.
So first up, we're gonna talk about the city of Ola. This is the one that Mr. Zaki talked about, where we're changing the funding source. We're recommending to move it from the Water Development Fund to the Water Sewer Solid Waste. Nothing else is changing, just which funding source we're gonna fund it out of. And that was an internal decision on our part, nothing from the borrowers, to help us manage the funding better. It's a water main replacement and pump station upgrade. And again, we're just recommending a change in the funding source. Here is the project budget. Nothing has changed here. This is exactly the same as you previously approved. We're again, just asking for your approval to move it to a different funding. And I'm gonna just go ahead and go through all three, and that way you don't have to go to the end of each one. Next up, we have our recommendation for emergency financial assistance. The chairman and the director conferred on this one, and we approved funding up to $100,000. They only needed $42,472.14 for water for emergency sewer repairs. This will be a loan out of the Water Development Fund, and we do have Mr. Tim Lemons here to speak if you guys have questions about the emergency project.
Any questions?
Hearing none, we will proceed.
Yeah.
Next up, we we have the recommendation for funding for the state match for the clean water and drinking water state revolving fund programs. These will be our big programs that fund the majority of our projects. In November, we're recommending out of the general obligation fund a grant up to $13,872,200 for the clean water and drinking water state revolving fund. I gave you some bunch of language here, but the things I wanted to point out is in the clean water program, we've received just over $374 million in federal capitalization grants. Along with our state match and the revolving program, we've awarded just over 1.3 billion in funding agreements. Those are executed agreements. That's not everything awarded. That's just what's executed closed loans. Out of the clean water program, we got 9.1 million in like administrative costs over the life of the program. And we've subsidized just over 74 million in conservation projects across the state through our conservation district agricultural water quality loan program. Drinking water hasn't been around quite as long, so it hasn't got the numbers aren't as big. We've received about 600 million in federal capitalization grants and awarded just over 1.2 billion in executed agreements and 88 million in other eligible project costs, such as administration and Department of Health. We fund a lot of Department of Health programs through that set aside, 88 million set aside program. So just to give you some big numbers to throw out there, why it's important that we get that 13 million. So here's the breakdown on the 13 million. Each capitalization grant requires a 20% match. So we're getting about $69 million in federal funds with a required 20% match, just over 13 million that will all be awarded out in November. And that concludes my recommendations for funding. So now it's up to you guys.
Any questions of Ms. Debbie?
The $1.3 billion, how many years did it take? What kind of time frame did it take to?
So the clean water program started in the mid-80s. Yeah, mid-80s. So what's that, 40 years? About 40 years.
I like that.
But we have done tremendous amount in the last week.
Now, again, those are only executed agreements. We've probably got another billion in unexecuted agreements that we're working towards that were awarded over the last 3 years. So the last 3 years, we've gone from on average 6 to 10 agreements per year to 30 to 100 agreements per year, not counting the Arthur year.
So that's not gonna happen at all.
No, that is only the clean water, drinking water state revolving fund.
That's great.
Mhm.
You would go over the obligation, or would you prefer to vote?
Vote first, because the job's just a report.
Okay. Any other questions, Ms. Debbie? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
I like it.
Second.
So motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, same. Motion passes.
So these are the de-obligations, and most of these are funding that was approved probably in 2020. During that big list of ARPA funding and principal forgiveness and all of that. So most of these folks have elected to get funding elsewhere or not proceed with the project. The only exception to that is Springville, the 50 million. They had to move the project location and had to redesign it. So they declined the funding. They'll come back probably when they're ready to proceed with the project. It would take too long to hold the funding and redesign the project. And that concludes my de-obligation report for you.
Any questions from Ms. Debbie? Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, Dave,
Yes, sir.
remember when we had that day where we had like 200 applications, it was that special funding that come down.
Mhm.
Some of them didn't get funded.
Mhm.
Do you know where we at? Is any of the ones that got funded turned back money to where we could pick up others, or do you know?
Are you talking about the ARPA funding?
Yeah,
So yes, the additional funding has been allocated to those that were on the wait list that were available. As of December 2024, if you did not have an executed agreement with the department, we can no longer do a new project. So at this point, moving forward, any deobligated funds will have to go to an existing project that was already had an executed agreement. That's an ARPA requirement, not ours.
but do we have a feel for how many? That's turned back the money or couldn't meet their obligations?
I'm gonna let Chris take
So
that.
if I remember correctly, I think we had two projects. That didn't move forward. We were able to reallocate those funds to projects on the wait list. And if you recall, we actually received a second tranche of ARPA funds. So we received 60 million, 5 million went to the Arkansas Rural Water Association for emergency equipment, but 55 million went to wait list projects. And I think we funded 42 or 43 additional projects. So we did 157 the first time and then add 42 to 43 on top of that. That's how many we were able to fund total. And if you recall, the ARPA wait list had 100 million in projects. We were able to fund 2 with turnback money and then 42 more at 50 million. So we got knocked off at least half or a little over half of the total wait list. So it's really a good deal. Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie. Ms. Perkins?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So for FY 26, the grants to district program had an appropriation of $250,000. So, we opened up an application period required by rule for 30 days from June 3rd to July 3rd. We received 49 applications. And of those 49 applications, those were all ranked, by conservation staff and also made sure they met all of the eligibility criteria as well. And we are recommending 22 of those projects for funding, along with QuickBooks funding for districts as well. And there's a list of those projects in your packets and a summary of those as well. Happy to answer any questions.
Remind me, did we take any action?
Yes.
Oh, it's on.
Any questions for him?
So we need to approve those. I so move. Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
Megan, how we're moving along on the irrigation district.
How did I know you? Question, I was just thinking about that on my way up here. They are moving along very, very well. Bimeda has, the Corps is working on issuing a contract out for the next phase of construction. Hope to do that by the end of this calendar year. White River's pump station construction is ongoing. I believe the pumps, the pumps are pulled from the pump station, sent back to the manufacturer for a once over. So essentially, they'll get brand new pumps back. Or that's the thought of old brand new pumps. But those pumps should start coming back around the 1st of September, one at a time. There's 6 of those. So the contractor will start setting those. And then they'll start going through the testing or functionality of those once they get back in there. There's several county road crossings going in, highway bridges going in for White River, Bimeda the same. They're working on pump stations. So there's active construction going on constantly with those projects. Oh, yes, and then we had the electrical substation was complete. Energy has completed electrical substation for White River.
So when the pumps do go back in, they have power and it's ready to operate. They're still on target for next spring to have the pump station complete. You know, weather permitting, which the dry weather is good for construction, maybe not good for some other things, but is good for construction. Bimeda will follow suit. Probably, I think that piece of construction is set to be in 2027. So we are so close we can almost taste the Sticky River water that's gonna pump through the canal. So
Any other questions for me?
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. Partner reports. I'm gonna start with Miss Diddy Moore.
Switching up the old on you.
I know, that's okay, I don't mind at all. I appreciate being asked. Goes around.
Take one down, pass it around.
That's right. It's been a very busy summer. We finished all of our seven area meetings and we're really pleased about that. First off, I thank y'all for allowing me to come and visit for just a little bit. I also want to thank Blake Forrest back there. He did come into for our district, so 319. What we find is there's lots of opportunities out there for our districts, but because of the fact that we do have some turnover and because they do not come with the same background, they do need training. And so AACD has really dedicated itself in partnership with AACBE to do as much training as it possibly can. We did QuickBooks training. We contracted with Cynthia Bearden. She did 5 trainings for us around the state, trying to make it as convenient for us as we can. This is just a quick overview of some of the things that AACD has been involved in with districts. We continue to fund districts for field days, that if they are going to do a field day that is something that is beneficial to their landowners, then we provide funding for that. We have also, we did all of our youth activities, Arkansas Envirothon. NRCS gave us a grant. We have contracted with Brittany Singleton. Some of you know her. She worked with Mike Daniels. She's finishing her PhD up at ASU in environmental science. And so we contracted with her to be our Envirothon coordinator. Then we also have we've got a grant from NACD for $100,000 to do locally led work group. We have done those trainings at each one of the area meetings. We've also done it at the annual meeting. And we did binders to provide to the districts to give them some ideas of how they can make those more successful. And so those have all been sent out to every district. We do find some districts are very creative. Prairie County was one of the ones that had one of the best attended. They did it in Kathy Seidenstrucker's barn. And they had lunch. They did it over lunch and they had a great turnout. Little River and another county, Rich Mountain down there did theirs together. They had over 140 people show up. We realized how extremely important it is for these locally led work group meetings because it is a way for our landowners to say what programs and practices are important in our county. Let's be honest, DeShay County is dramatically different than Benton County. So you need someone that says these are the natural resource concerns that we have versus what the others have. So now the other one that I put there is each year, one of the 4 states, Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana, we have a regional meeting. It is our turn to sponsor that regional meeting. It's going to be down at the Oklahoma. They choose the sun. And I just organized it. So it's the Oklahoma Racing Casino and Resort. One advantage is that the convention center is separate from the casino and it is smoke free. So I'm really pleased about that part. So we are getting ready to have that at the end of September. Chris has agreed to come down and talk. But we always try to highlight as many conservation programs and practices as we can in each area. We have done it several. Next time they wanted to go back to Hot Springs, and so those are some of the speakers. We will talk about irrigation management. We will talk about the feral hogs. Always talk about the feral hogs. We met with Megan and several others to talk about the new funding that will be coming down from IRA for feral hogs. What changes need to be made, how we can tweak it, how we can make it better. And so that's a problem that's going to be with us from now on. And so we continue to strive to figure out how we can address it in a way that really You're never gonna eradicate them, but how can we at least try to contain them somewhat? So, things have been busy, but, we would not have it any other way. We thank y'all for your support. We appreciate what y'all do. We appreciate the staff. If there's anything we can do, don't ever hesitate to ask. Oh, and by the way, how's Kathy Sidestroker, how's her husband?
I talked to her on the phone last night, we're headed to Mayo, he's having a tough time.
He has a rare blood disease. Kathy is our first vice president, has suffered with this for a long, long time. How he's managed to work as long as he has, I don't know. But he's been back and forth. They went to their place in Hot Springs because he was in the ER 3 times in 9 days. So, it's been a very difficult time for Kathy, and, we all think so. Okay, I'll be glad to answer questions. If not, I
Any
will.
questions for Debbie?
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, Miss Debbie. Casey Lawson. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you all for inviting us here. First, I'd like to offer congratulations to Tate on his new position. And we look forward to our continued collaborative efforts with him in his new position. So we've got just a couple things going on. We got one last applicant for ARPA that we have a permission in-house, so that is our top priority right now, getting that permit issued to them. We are continuing our migration of our permits into our SEEK system, focused right now on our general permits. So construction stormwater is already there, industrial stormwater is already there, and now we're working on all the rest of it. And we are currently processing our wastewater license renewals in SEEK, so it's our first one in SEEK, but we're about halfway through them. We've got a little over 3,000 licenses, so we're pretty excited about that progress. And that concludes my report. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to give you any answers.
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank y'all.
Drew Westerman, you are subject to ladies first, my friend.
Actually, I was getting nervous by going first. I usually don't laugh, so I think I just. The Drew Westerman with USGS, federal agency's been in the news a lot lately. I get to report back, we're fully open, we've retained travel authority, business as usual for us. And you may have even heard that, we were potentially gonna move, we're gonna stay in the same spot over there. I think it's less than a mile away off the Hard Road. So all good news there. You'll be the first to know if we see any interruption, but so far we're able to maintain that expectation of what each of our partners expect of us as far as getting out and servicing the gauges and doing our science. So I was first want to talk about highlight that NRD at USGS, I consider a pretty good highlight collaboration effort. We do something we call the groundwater stop pick twice a year, and that's where we go out usually in the spring and the fall, around April and then around October. And our goal is to measure the groundwater levels within our major aquifers. And within the spring, I think between Corbin and Blake's teams and USGS, we measured about 550 unique wells. So a little bit more than normal. What we were trying to do in the spring is we're trying to track to see how much the water levels have come up, have rebounded or recharged since irrigation, since the fall, since the drier summer season and into the fall. When we kicked this off, we were measuring about 25 wells in the Ozarks. And a majority of the Ozark aquifer is domestic wells. So we're measuring that usually house to house. Compared to the Sparta, we also measured that in the spring. We did about, I think, 250 wells. That predominantly is public supply. And so we're working with individual cities measuring their municipality wells. And so that's majority, the use of the Sparta is for public supply. So it's really important to get, that's a deep aquifer, really important to get a gauge of what the water levels are for the Sparta. And in addition to that, we measure both in the spring and the fall, the MIRVA, or the Mississippi River Valley Alluvial Aquifer. And that's our aquifer that provides the majority of the irrigation water use. So from Arkansas County to Jonesboro, just think about that, the entire delta. That's really driven by the water availability within the alluvial. So pretty important to look at how that water level is changing after each irrigation. And so we did about 550, it was 300 within the alluvial. So we were out there, a lot of highway miles. I think I think one team member I saw trek over 5,000 miles. So we did within about a 2.5, 3 week period. It's really important to do that within a short time frame so we can kind of keep a quick snapshot. That way the rain or any river flooding doesn't impact it. As you know, we had some river flooding too. So right in between that in the spring, we were out chasing water around Hardy, Jonesboro, upper northeast Arkansas, doing a lot of that. And what I mean by that, we're out on the rivers, we're doing discrete discharge measurements in order to check what our gauges report versus what the floods are. The floods are such a unique event, it's hard to predict or evaluate what that discharge will be without us just being out there. And of course, we did a lot of repairs too. Wanted to come back to the groundwater effort. We have a lot of focus on that. We're hoping to do a fall here in October where we're looking to collaborate again with NRD. And we're going to be focused on measuring the MERV aquifer. That's that irrigation driven aquifer. And the purpose of measuring again the October timeframe is to how far was the drawdown? How much water did we need from the aquifer? And then we're able, since we do it yearly, we're able to track those trends. We work with Corbin and his team in order to determine what the groundwater status is year to year. So exciting, very unique effort compared to other states too. It's something to be very proud of. It's a lot of effort to get those groundwater levels. And what that means is there's a team member putting a tape measure basically down every one of those wells, just to emphasize how much work and collaboration, both not only with NRD and USGS, but also the landowners. They find a lot of value to having that data. Behind the scenes, we have the staff in the field. We also have our scientists that are looking at how to optimize that network. You know, money doesn't grow on trees, I hear, and also wells go offline sometimes. So we're trying to figure out how to best represent the wells that we measure. As you can imagine, there's thousands of wells. I think over 55,000 reported wells within Arkansas for water use. So we're trying to figure out which wells to measure to best represent the stats across Arkansas. So that's what we're doing behind the scenes at the same time that we're going out there. Some of that requires some recon and to determine if wells are viable for measuring. The other thing that we're doing in collaboration with NRD and the conservation districts are we're looking at calibrating and developing a groundwater model using this data in order to run conservation scenarios. And you probably heard the buzzword MAP, Mississippi Alluvial Plain Project. That's continuing and progressing forward with the scenario development. And that's a tool that's pretty critical at looking at what future water use demands and future water availability looks like. So you can forecast out 10, 20, 30 years and determine how impacts of conservation may help you save water. In addition to those groundwater level measurements, we've also are about to wrap up a water quality effort focused on groundwater. So another pretty cool project that's specific to Arkansas is looking at measuring every summer the concentration of chloride bromide within the groundwater system. And that water quality aspect help to determine how much salt water may be intruding into that usable aquifer, right? So you may have water there, but if it's too salty to use, it's not available. So we're tracking that. So we do that every year. We measure about 25 wells across from southern to northern Arkansas, looking at what that chloride bromide concentration is and then how that may have changed through time. We're lucky enough to have tens of years of record on that. In addition to that, we do a water quality program we call Master Wells. And so that's a network of about 25 groundwater wells spread out through all the aquifers within Arkansas. And we're trying to track long-term water quality trends. So some of the discussion that started this morning was looking at how water quality may be degraded enough to where it's not usable. Back to that, it may be there, but it's not available for use. And so that Master Well program that I think this has a 30-year history with NRD of supporting, looks at how those trends may be changing across the network well. So we measure everything from pesticides to nutrients to even radiochemistry. So it's a pretty full suite of water quality constituents. Another big success, we worked with Tate and his teams. We just outlined a new scope and agreement for the following year of what USGS will be working in collaboration with. And that agreement includes more things than just groundwater. It's got some numbers here for you. The agreement supports 37 surface water gauges. That's out of about 180 across the state. So we're very rich in surface water data. And this is continuous data. So if you haven't seen it, happy to share, but USGS, I think if you Google USGS dashboard, basically we have a lot of data. We've always had a history of, it's been hard share it, disseminate it, right? And so we've created this dashboard that basically maps all of our real-time data from the 37 surface water gauges to the water quality gauges in our DHealth support to the real-time groundwater gauges, which gives you instant, basically every hour gives you an update of what that water level, whether it's in the surface or in the ground, what it's doing, how it may be responded to water use and pumping. And then we also are very unique in Arkansas. We have 20 real-time water use wells. So if USGS dashboard, you Google that, hopefully they'll give you a cool map that shows you basically a quick snapshot of all the real-time water data that you have available in Arkansas or beyond. So that's something that's cool. That's only about a year or two old as far as new capability. One thing that we've been doing from the USGS side is we've been investing, I think I calculated up to about $150,000 over just this calendar year in upgrades to all of those real-time stations. We actually transmit that data through satellites, and NOAA is updating how the protocols of how the satellites receive transmissions. So part of the service USGS does is we take care of all the equipment at those gauges, and we've invested about $150,000 in new computers, essentially, that transmit that data up. So pretty excited about having that all, of course, before the deadline, which I think is about a year from now, actually. The other thing that we're doing that hopefully will help support future modeling efforts within the state is we're actually out at every one of our stream gauges with high precision survey instruments. And we're bringing each one of our gauges, any type of our real-time data, into a real world elevation, kind of like sea level. So you actually know what the elevation of that data represents, whether it's groundwater or surface water. That way you can compare gauge to gauge across the state. Oftentimes, if you look at our gauge data, it's reported in discharge or stream flow, how much water is flowing past a specific site. The other thing is you'll see stage. Stage is kind of like an arbitrary stream depth. Now, with our surveying effort, we're able to bring that into a sea level. So you're able to track how that surface water compares to across the state. So pretty proud of that effort. Other than that, it's kind of business as usual. As it was mentioned, drought actually causes us to do quite a bit of running. The floods get all the credit as far as getting out there. It's on the news. The drought conditions actually has us just as busy. We're out extending our lines in the creek in order to make sure that we're able to report data, even though the streams are pretty low. So we've been pretty busy, even though it's hadn't rained in a while. So thanks for having me. Thanks for your continued support of the USGS program. So happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Director Colclasure, I'm going to turn this over to you, and I would like for you, if you don't mind, add a little update on NASDA for the mission dates.
Yeah, so first of all, with the commission, I'll start with the commission meeting, which was originally scheduled for the 17th of September was the date that you all had set at our last commission meeting of last year. So we typically do that in November, set the commission meeting dates for the entire year. Because we had to rearrange the July meeting and move it to August. I'm asking that we change the date of that meeting to the 30th. So from September 17th to September 30th. One, to give us more time to put the things that we've got to work on the agenda. So we've got general obligation bond work, and we've got a bunch of things that need to go on. And so that'll give us time. The other thing that it does is it takes it out of the week of NASDA. Sorry, I'm on the NASDA. And so NASDA is going to meet in Rogers that week, the week of the 17th. It's going to be all hands on deck here from the department. And so to make it not interfere with that while that conference is going on. If we move it to the 30th, we'll be outside of that 1 week window for NASDA. And again, that will give us more time to get our stuff together to put on. And NASDA, the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, Arkansas is the host state for that this year. And so there'll be, tons of people coming from all across the country. So Secretary Wes Ward, all of his counterparts will be here from the other states. So it'll be a great time to learn about agriculture in the state and across the country, and you'll have a lot of organizations represented there. And so for those that do want to attend, we can send you the specifics of the dates and time. All of that information if you're interested in attending, that particular conference while it's here. But as far as the commission meeting, I would like to move it to the 30th if there's no objections. That's a
To
two.
the 30th
Yes, sir. That's the last day in September.
September.
Yes, sir. Yep. If that works for folks. And if you would like, we can poll after this meeting and just see, and that may be the best thing.
Tuesday is a day that they feed soup over to VFW in North Little Rock. So,
Are you coming here? Ethan? But if you'd like, Mr. Chairman, we can poll and for those commissioners that are not here and just see, but I definitely wanted to bring that up as part of the meeting today. Cause that'll give us more time. We have the NASDA, then the next week we have the Arkansas, Oklahoma Compact Commission. And so we'll be at that. And so really that's the next available time to be able to have a commission.
I would suggest we hold,
Yeah, we'll do
that
that.
way we can get another.
We'll have Christie put, Christie can hold and make sure that we can get a quorum that day. Perfect, but be typical 9:30 start here in this room. So
Any questions or any further commission business?
we'll start about the same time.
yes, sir, 9:30. That'll be our, unless something comes up and somebody challenges or something and we have to have a hearing or something like that. Outside of that, we're good. We should be 9:30.
I can't imagine anybody would help it quickly, you being prepared for this.
So too, we're the host. Let's do it right. Yes, yes.
Well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it. Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Or adjourn.